Good day, Mayor Jeff Schielke speaking to you on Friday, July 10th, 2020. And I'm here for my weekly report on the coronavirus and other issues of interest in the community of Batavia. Let me start by talking about the corona issue. We've had a number of folks on both sides of the issue contact us about what they should or should not be doing as it revolves around social distancing and mask wearing and gatherings. And obviously there was a big moan in the community when we had to decide to not fire the 4th of July fireworks this year because of the concerns about social distancing. So that's caused a lot of conversation. I've had a lot of people say they like the idea that they're wearing masks. I have some that are very vocal that they don't like that they have to wear masks or that we are requesting they wear masks. As I pointed out to the people who object to it, we as a city are not running around giving out tickets to anybody because they don't have a mask on. The Batavia Police Department does have some spare masks in their cars. If they see somebody that's in a situation that maybe a mask would be helpful, they will offer to give them a mask. But we're here to hopefully support the edicts coming down to us from the state of Illinois, and that's where this is all coming from, as to whether or not we should, whatever we should be doing. And the mask thing seems to be a big issue. I personally carry a couple in my pocket at all times, and I take them on and I take them off during the day because I find that when I'm talking to people, specifically some folks have a difficult time understanding what I'm saying when I'm talking through my mask. So sometimes I'll step back 4 or 5 feet from them and either pull the mask down or take it off and then have the conversation, put the mask back on. And other times I inadvertently get out of the car and run into McDonald's or someplace and I don't have my mask on. And so the staff right away starts giggling and pointing at me, so I get the message and I run back out to my car and get the mask. It's become kind of a joke in downtown McDonald's because I was in there one day this week and I was in a hurry and I went in without my mask in my pocket. So needless to say, I don't do that anymore, but I'm as guilty of this as anybody else because it does happen. I just want to say that we've had some folks call us and contact us, email us, about they think that the city is pushing the mask thing too far and that there is nobody telling us that we have to have masks, and they're citing a court opinion that came out of Clay County Circuit Court, which is down in the southern part of the state of Illinois. And so we've had some folks challenge whether or not we are operating under the true constraints of the law as applies to this Clay County Circuit Court opinion. And so I gave the whole challenge to our city attorney's law firm, Drendel and Janssens, who has done an outstanding job for us over the last few years. I couldn't be more pleased with the legal advice they have continuously given us that always seems to be the right on. And just yesterday I received back from Kevin Gendel a memorandum, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just want to read a few sentences from it about the Clay County Court decision. He says, "What we have is the Clay County Circuit Court decision. That Clay County decision is binding on the courts in Clay County, but it isn't binding on courts in other counties. If it gets appealed to the 5th Appellate Court District, where Clay County is located, and the 5th District makes a ruling, that ruling will become a binding precedent on all county courts that are within the 5th District. Since Kane County is in the 2nd District, a 5th District opinion would not be binding in Kane County unless the 5th District opinion is appealed to the Illinois Supreme Court and the Illinois Supreme Court rules against the emergency order actions. So as of today, all we have is a Clay County court opinion. It is now not binding. It has no binding effect on Kane County because Clay County Circuit Court has no jurisdiction over people in other counties. So that's where we're at. Now I know a number of the larger retailers, some of which have contacted me, have put out edicts, put signs on the door and say, please put a mask on before you enter our business. And I think in some instances, if you don't have a mask, they'll hand you one. Now that's a decision that's being made by those corporate businesses, and it's not the city of Batavia that's telling them that they have to have the mask. We applaud it. I will tell you that at the end of the day, Batavia's been very fortunate in this whole corona thing in that we've had a very low reported number of cases in our town. That being said, I think what the worst thing that myself, and certainly I feel that members of the city council would like to see come to them, would be if there's a second shot of this thing and suddenly we get a whole influx of new cases impacting Batavia, there's going to be some blame to be passed around that we let the guard down or whatever. So we're going to continue, as far as I'm concerned, to ask for the mask cooperation as long as the state of Illinois is out there telling us that they're not happy yet with the turns and the whims and the ways of where the corona reporting numbers are coming from. Even with Batavia being on the lower end, we don't want to do anything that could compromise our good situation that we're in. So that's where we sit on that one. I just wanted to clear the air on that one. Another thing I wanted to just share very quickly with you is that we've been contacted the last couple of days that, as you may have remember, we issued a sign, a yellow sign with black lettering that said "slow down." And we've been distributing these to any citizen that wants it. We give you a little frame to put it in or a holder to put it in the ground with. And they've been very well circulated. The last couple of nights we've had apparently somebody running around town stealing all the signs out of people's yards. So I just wanted to share the news that if anybody had a sign and that sign was taken, just come on back down to the City Hall or the Police Department and we can give you another sign. We've got a stock of them here. Our plan is to keep the signs up until probably about Labor Day weekend or around the beginning of school. And then we'll see how things go then, and maybe we'll come out with a different sign now of a different color that will be schools open slow, please drive slow, or something like that. We're finding these have a very positive effect. I know I've had people specifically on South Van Buren Street, which right now is under tremendous traffic pressure because of the rebuilding of Prairie. There's huge numbers of cars going up and down South Van Buren every day. We had a number of signs down there the last few weeks, and they all got stolen or moved or stolen or removed or whatever last night. So we're in the process of getting those replaced. And we also, I know we've had some folks specifically over on Haynes Drive and even going across the street over back behind Coles over to Wolcott Lane and Trent Drive and some of those areas west of Randall Road had a sign or two up. And they all were complimenting how they felt that the signs was helping to keep traffic down. So we want to keep residents, whether they're living on Wolcott Lane or South Van Buren Street or whatever, feeling good about the traffic movement in front of their homes. And so on behalf of the City Council, I continue to ask for your support and cooperation in keeping the speeds down, because with the advent of the world that we live in, there's been a significant increase in bicycle riding, number one, and secondly in pedestrian walking and running. And so we have a lot of people on the sidewalks, on the curbs, in the streets, and we're just trying to do everything we can to spread the word and send the word that we need to have everybody aware of their surroundings and act safely. On the bicycle side of things, again, we continue to have some strong concerns that some bicycle riders failed to stop for any stop sign. And again, we're watching that very closely, and we may be forced into taking some actions about that in the near term if we continue to see some of the antics that we got going. So again, I'm not trying to be a hard nose on this particular call, but I just wanted to share that those are a couple of the big issues that are in our face right now, and ones that we want to make everybody aware of and ask for your cooperation with. Another thing I've had a lot of people talk to me about, and there's probably a lot of reasons why, because there's a lot of different things are happening. As you've seen, we've had some businesses leave downtown Batavia, mostly because of the financial issues associated with their operations. We've had to put some tables out in the middle of Water Street and River Street and some other places on the city alleyways and whatever have you to allow for some of our restaurants to have outdoor seating. And we're trying to be as cooperative as we can. But I think I get the message, and in my role as chairman of the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning's Council of Mayors, every 284 mayors and village presidents in the 6-county region surrounding Chicago are members of our group, because we're the ones that handle federal transportation distribution funding. So I get to know most of the mayors in the region. And I will tell you, in places like Downers Grove, Orland Park, and Tinley Park, which are 3 very nice towns. I'd encourage you to take a visit to any one of the 3, because they're great places to see and there's great ideas. But in talking to the mayors in all three of those towns, who are either former or current mayors are friends of mine, everybody says that there's a couple true statements to success of a smaller town such as those are in Batavia, Geneva, St. Charles are, and others. And one is that you have a vibrant downtown area, and that within that downtown you have a significant number of people living. So those people can be near the downtown amenities, and specifically they can walk to work or they can walk to the store or whatever. But many people like, and I see this all the time now in downtown Batavia, people walking Wilson and Houston and North River Street and the bike trail. It's just great to see everybody out and about. But as I say, in the neighboring communities, they all say they having a vibrant business area, and all three of them, in the case of Orland Park, it's the mall area, but they've built kind of a sub-downtown right across the street from what was their old downtown. They built a pretty significant area there, and they got a lot of activity. And so I cite all this as an example of, what are the components that make for a successful downtown area? And certainly, obviously, access to transportation facilities. In the case of Batavia, I'm told we are strong. We don't have a metro train, but we are about 3 to 5 miles away from either a Burlington or a UP train in Aurora, or the Burlington on the metro in Geneva. And so, or Northwestern, I guess it would be, UP in Geneva and the Burlington in Aurora. We are very, very successful in having attractions to people wanting to live in Batavia, because in the morning they can take one or the other train into Chicago, and then they can take the other one back out because their schedules are different, and they can then take a Uber or call for a taxi or whatever and come home. And so we're kind of at an advantage here in Batavia amongst the Tri-Cities, because we're the closest to 2 different metro train stations. So that's a highlight for us. I think the vibrance of the downtown is certainly helping to do some positive things, and we are now getting inquiries about people wanting to build specifically residential units with maybe commercial on the first floor in the downtown area. The discussions we have ongoing with Mr. Shodine on his proposed project up at the Old Baptist Church outlines exactly that platform. And the other thing that seems to be the other ingredient that really draws people into the town is a public school system with a good academic record. And in the case of Batavia, we have the good academic record, and we also have an outstanding record in extracurricular activities, be it music or arts or certainly athletics. And we are very, very proud of that school district. And that's, if you ask realtors, why did somebody want to move to Batavia? Most of them will tell you specifically, the feel and the vibrance and the sense of safety in the town, and secondly, the look of it, and probably most importantly, the number one anchor is the goodness or the good record of the public school system. So those are all the attributes that as the mayor you learn and you react to, and you go forward and you tour. And I take rides every now and then in the Chicagoland area. I was just on one the other day down in some of the places I'm talking about, where you see how things are going. And there are some other areas in the region that are in very bad shape, and it's because they don't have all this going for them, the things I've just talked about. So I think we're on the right track here, and let us hope that we keep going in that direction. And finally today, I've gotten a lot of reaction about some of the historical things that I've been showing here in the last couple. So just because it's the middle of the summer, and this would have been the weekend for Windmill City Days, and we obviously had the Park District and the Chamber and Main Street couldn't pull that off because of the Corona issue. I know we're going to have a lively night on North River Street tonight on Second Friday, so if you're not doing anything and you watch this in time, maybe you want to take a walk down there. I know there's going to be a lot of food service and refreshments and some bands playing and whatever. So we've got some good stuff happening, and obviously tomorrow the shops will be open at River and Wilson, boardwalk shops, and then we will also have the farmers market, and those are very, very popular things, and people come from a wide area to see those, and very unique things can be purchased at those. But what I wanted to do today is close with a couple pictures, and this is a picture taken by the late John Rusek, who was a friend of mine. He passed away a few years ago, and his sister was kind enough to give me part of his photo collection. And this is a picture taken summer of 1966. Old Quarry Backside Road, end of Water Street. And anybody who grew up in Batavia in the 1950s, 60s, or early 70s Well, remember, if you wanted to go to the quarry, this was the way you went, into the hilly road that was to the south end of the quarry, and you went down and up and around, and it was quite as almost like riding in a roller coaster trying to get down to the quarry. But I thought that would be a fun picture for people who can remember that era in Batavia of the old quarry road. And John really did it. I have several different views of this. John did a really nice job of recording it. Now it's totally been closed down and all overgrown, and you'll never see this like this again. And the other picture I wanted to show for, again, people who grew up in the Batavia in the 1950s and the 60s is this particular photo, and it honors Hilda Scheidler, who for over 20 years was sponsor of the Huddle Youth Center, which was the recreation center that was open on Friday and Saturday nights during the school year. And originally it was based above what today would be Pier 1 on East Wilson Street, or in the hall of the old American Legion above, again, Rochelle's drugstore. All those things are gone. But it was on East Wilson Street. And then when the Civic Center building was first built with the Bartholomew money in the 1960s, it was moved over to the basement of the Civic Center. And Mrs. Scheidler ran that till 1966. And this is a picture taken of Mrs. Scheidler, and with her are the two people who were then serving as president and the president-elect of the Huddle Board, which were the students who helped Mrs. Scheidler run the board. And this is Mrs. Scheidler here in the center, and she retired and was Citizen of the Year in appreciation for all this good work for helping these kids for well over 20 years. This young lady here is Kathy McCullough, who's now Kathy Trazer. And if you know anything about St. Charles, Kathy was a teacher in the St. Charles school system for many, many, many years. I believe she's now retired, but was truly an outstanding teacher and went forward and had quite a glorious career in education and as a parent. I believe she had 3 sons, and so she's got a lot to be proud of. And the other person in the picture is Danny Davis, and he graduated with myself in Batavia High School class of 1967. And as you can see, he was a young black man, and he was elected the first president of the Huddle Board in the spring of 1966, and worked with Mrs. Scheidler and ran that huddle with a lot of great vim, vigor, and vitality for many, many years. After he graduated from Batavia High School, Danny went to Waubonsee Community College, and then in the height of the Vietnam War, he joined the U.S. Navy and served with distinction in the Navy in Vietnam. And then, unfortunately, a few years back, he passed away rather suddenly, and so he's no longer with us. He was the nephew of Arthur Boyd. And Art Boyd, if you go to the current museum exhibit that's down in the basement of the museum showing all the history of the black folks in Batavia, Danny Davis was the nephew of Art Boyd, who was the first elected black alderman in Kane County. Again, another first for Batavia, I believe, in 1969, and Art served on our city council for 5 terms or 20 years before he retired from that. So it's a lot of history in these pictures, and there's a lot of memories here, and I just wanted to kind of close out the week by sharing these and sharing how we have been so fortunate to have people like Hilda Scheidler and Kathy McCullough Trazer and Danny Davis as citizens of our community who kind of brought us to where we are right now and made this the great town that it is. So with that said, I wish everybody a great week, and please stay safe, and we'll talk to you again next week.